Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm Nick, and today I'm going to be taking a look at my top 5 horror movies of 2021. Now obviously I didn't get to see every horror movie from this year. That's impossible with all the B movies and everything out there. For instance, I never got to see VHS 94, Paranormal Activity Next of Kin, The Forever Purge, and Blood Red Sky, which was all on my watch list. But 3 out of 4 of those are franchise movies, so I'll definitely be getting to them at some point. And before we get into this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out. And you can follow me on my social medias. Links to those will be in the description, guys. And let's start off with our honorable mentions. So I got 5 honorable mentions for you guys. First one being Candyman. I think this was a great companion piece to the original film. We got Werewolves Within, neat little whodunit involving werewolves, which is interesting. We got Superhost, which was a neat little dark thriller that I reviewed on the channel. Antlers is another great one you should check out. Lots of atmosphere and themes throughout. And lastly, we got PG Psycho Gorman. This one would have actually made my top 5 horror movies of the year, but I felt like it wasn't horror enough for my top 5. It's a horror comedy, and they really focus more on the comedy in that, so it just didn't feel right putting it in my top 5. But getting into my top 5, at number 5 we got Wrong Turn, the reboot. Now this was just a breath of fresh air. I went through the entire franchise when this released, and let me tell you, this is my favorite. The original being second, but I was so fed up with the inbred cannibal thing that I didn't mind them completely changing it up in this story. The first half hour or so is a little messy. It's hard to get into the characters and the pacing's a little off, but once we get into the story, it really just starts rolling and the twists start coming in that, and I just fell in love with this film. Plus this has to have one of the most bonkers credit reel endings I've seen in a long time. Coming in at number 4, I'm going to cheat a little bit. Fear Street 1978 and Fear Street 1666. I just didn't feel right having 2 Fear Street movies in my top 5, so here's a freebie. I'm giving you 2. I do prefer 1666 a little bit over 78, but it's very close. They're right beside each other in my ranking of the year. Starting off with 1978, I think this was a huge improvement over 1994, which I was not a fan of, unfortunately. It was okay, but I didn't get the hype or anything that people were going on about this movie. So it took me a while to get to part 2 and 3, but I'm so glad I did. Part 2, it has that throwback camp slasher feel to it, which I love, being a big Friday the 13th fan and Sleepaway Camp and all that. So that was real nice. The characters are a huge improvement on the first film. And by the end of this one, I just could not wait to watch part 3. And now with part 3, 1666, this one goes back to like Pilgrim times, which was really neat. I feel like we got to see the actors really perform here. I'm glad they got a second chance, because most of these actors are from the 1994 film, and they're playing these different characters in this one, but their performances are just so much better. How they have to put on that like old school dialogue and everything, and the way they're dressed, and everything was awesome. I love the setting, I love the acting, the performances, and this really gave us our origin story for the witch and the town and its curse. And I'm a sucker for origin stories, and I loved how everything wrapped up. Coming in at number 3, we got The Night House. Now this was a pleasant surprise. I'm going to say that this was the most creepiest movie of the year that I watched, the one that got under my skin the most while watching it, but I just couldn't help but looking away. Like, I'm not into the supernatural films. If you know me, the haunted house, all that crap, it's been so overdone, and I'm just not interested in it. But this one really had a really unique twist on it, about a wife who's grieving over the loss of her husband who just committed suicide, and then weird shit starts happening around her house, like ghostly stuff, and she's wondering, is that her husband trying to like tell her something or what? And as the story goes on, there's twists and turns, and it was just a huge awesome journey that they took you on, and I like the final resolution of it all. It made you think. This is the type of movie I was like, I'm pretty sure I know what it's about, but it still made me go out and researched it, and I love those type of films. Coming in at number 2, we got Malignant from James Wan. Wow, what a crazy ride this one was. Like, when I first watched it, I was such in shock because there's a really odd, bizarre twist in it, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I knew I liked the movie, but I didn't know if I loved it or if I just liked it. And after watching it a few more times, I'm starting to love this film. It got great visuals, just like The Night House did too. We get that 70s giallo look, like the 70s Italian films with the color red, and it usually happens in like the more intense parts of this film. And yeah, I can't talk too much about it without giving too much away, but it's a great mysterious thrill ride that at the end it has you going wow. But coming in at number 1 of the year, we got Last Night in Soho, Edgar Wright's newest film, one of my favorite directors, and this guy has never made a bad film in my book. I have yet to see his 90s Western film, which was really low budget in the starting of his career, but everything after that, whether they're talking about Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, everything is amazing from this guy. And this movie was no exception. It was very different from anything he's done before, very ambitious. Some of the best visuals I've seen all year, probably the best. And just such a unique storyline about this kind of a coming of age story. This girl moving out of her house and going to university, leaving home for the first time. But she has a gift where she could kind of see the past and experience it. And throughout the film, she's trying to solve this unsolved murder or this crime from back in the day, and it's just so interesting how it gets interwoven with the present and the past. Like, you know, such great storytelling. It's not straight up horror, and I was confused watching this because it said it was a horror movie, and an hour in there was literally nothing horror about it. The second half of the movie, the last hour, that's where the horror kicks in, and by the end it's in full hyperdrive. So if you're watching this wondering where the horror is, stick around, you'll see it, and it goes bonkers in the end. I love the twist, I love how everything wrapped up. There's Easter eggs throughout the entire film to give you clues about what's going on, but you really only pick up some of them on the second and third watch, which I really love as well. And overall, this is the best horror movie of the year. So there you have it, guys. There's my top 5 horror, really top 6 of the year, plus some honorable mentions. I want you guys to drop down below your favorite horror movies of 2021. And was it a good year for you, or was it a bad year for you? Let me know all that down below in the comments, and I'm sure to get to you. And that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for watching.